Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gents. We are here for lucky, because I have to say it every time, lucky week number 13 in the NFL in 2024. And it is, of course, Thanksgiving weekend as well, Black Friday weekend, all across the board. Of course, I'm not American, I'm Canadian. I celebrated Thanksgiving as the Lord intended weeks back. But obviously, this is a huge week every single season for the NFL. And this season, obviously, is going to be no different. We have a really, really entertaining slate of games lined up on Thursday. We've got an interesting matchup on Friday for Black Friday. It's weird that it takes place at 3 p.m. There's some kind of weird statute, I think, in the state of Missouri or something, that game has to be done by a certain time. Or so there's weirdness. But what I can say is this is, I think, one of the most exciting slates of games, maybe all season long. Like, I absolutely love this week's lineup of games. So I cannot wait to get into it with all of y'all. I'm just going to very quickly adjust my screen there. Now, you may notice I'm wearing a hoodie. And I'm wearing a hoodie for a very specific reason. I'm wearing a hoodie for my good friends in Miami, in solidarity with my good friends in Miami, because shit's about to get real cold for them this week as they make the trek up to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. And it is going to be cold in Lambeau. And it was so funny to me earlier this week where, Tua after last week talked about, oh man, we can't wait to go up to Green Bay and bust some narratives. Meanwhile, a couple days later, the Packers announced, hey, we have more tickets to the game because Miami gave back a portion of their allotment. So they're ready to bust narratives, but their fans apparently are not on board with that because they are not making the trip up to cold-ass Lambeau Field. So unfortunately, the fan base did not keep the same energy. But before we get into all of that for Week 13, let's talk about what happened last week, and let's get into the show. So we're going to start our audio recording. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And then we're going to do that. And that is going now. In 5, 4, 3. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to week number 13 of my weekly NFL football pick show for the 2024 NFL season and postseason. And ladies and gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving week to you and yours. For everybody south of the 49th parallel in the United States, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have an incredible weekend with family and friends. Black Friday coming up as well on Friday, and we all know what a wonderful stress-free day that Black Friday is in the retail environment. So if you're a retail worker, I sympathize with you. I am as well. So week 13 in the NFL, as I was mentioning in the preamble here to the show, I genuinely think this week 13 slate of games is one of the best slates of games that I think we've had all season long. It's a full 16 game slate, so we are going to be here for a while talking some football, but I think this is one of the best lineups of games that the NFL has given us all season long. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to this week's episode, and I'm looking forward to kind of digging myself out of a hole that I put myself in from last week. You know how last week I talked about how I was coming in with a bunch of momentum? So unfortunately, that kind of bit me in the butt because I only went 5-8 straight up and against the spread last week. The rule of 4 did hit for the third consecutive week. 5 of the last 6 weeks, in fact, the rule of 4 has hit. Unfortunately, I did not hit along with it as I was a few games underwater. But again, we reload, we go again. That is the nature of the beast. That's what I've been doing here for 13 years. We don't sweat a couple of bad weeks or a bad week here and there. Not in my nature, not in my DNA. I did finish 7-6 on the totals for last week. So I was kind of above water on the totals, which is nice. On the season, 107.72 straight up, 99.76 and 4 against the spread, and 87.89 and 3 on the totals. So on the totals, right there, just a couple games under 500 straight up and against the spread, still having an excellent season, not sweating it whatsoever. In the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em pool for season 13 of this show, I did drop back down into 21st place out of 34, 952 out of 1,431 possible confidence points. That's a clip of 66.5%. Still have plenty of work to do. There's still some runway, but we're starting to get fairly deep in the season. If I'm going to start making a move, I got to start making my move now. I did only bring in 41 of 91 confidence points last week, which is only good for 45%. Not good enough, not going to get it done. Shout out to our Week 12 winner, Fourth and Impossible, who I've mentioned on this show a time or two so far this season. 78 of 91 confidence points last week, a clip of 85.7%. The thumbs up goes to Fourth and Impossible for winning Week 12. Tyler's picks, obviously still our runaway leader here in this pool. 1,064 out of 1,431 possible confidence points, nearly 74.5% on the season, a near unprecedented run from a confidence points perspective. I wish I'd kept better stats of this through the years, but 74.5% this deep into the season is something I think really, really remarkable. Tyler's doing an incredible job making the picks this season. We're going to take a peek into Fantasy Corner, which is, of course, brought to you by my good friends at the Dynasty Trade Calculator. And if you're like me and have taken the step into Dynasty, Keeper, or long-term fantasy football, the Dynasty Trade Calculator is one of the absolute best resources that's available to you online for Dynasty, Keeper, and long-term fantasy football. We're talking trade evaluations, player rankings and evaluations, a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great experts. The DTC will cater to your league's specific quirks. You got your PPR, you got a tight end premium, your super flex league, 16 teams. Does not matter how your league is configured. The DTC has got you covered with specifically curated rankings and evaluations. It's just an incredible tool. My affiliate link is in the description down below. And for as little as a cup of coffee, you can join this incredible resource that is going to give you the edge in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. Now, I went 5-3 across my 8 fantasy football teams last week for a season-long record of 57-39. I took a look earlier. I am clinched into the playoffs in 2 of my 8 leagues, and I'm like within a game of being in a playoff spot or already in a playoff spot in every single other one of them. So like I'm within a game basically in every single league. So it's been a very successful season so far in fantasy football for me. Best ball, as you know, I'm doing my 3 best ball leagues, still in first place in one of them. The other 2, I'm 8 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. So the other 2 leagues are struggling. Unfortunately, one of those is a paid league. But again, I'm still just kind of dipping the toesies into best ball. 2 of my 5 wins last week came in my 2 Dynasty fantasy football leagues. That was a win in the professionals over Tim and a win in Ante & Co. over Doc. That moves my records to 9-3 and 5-7 respectively. I'm clinched into a playoff spot in the professionals. I'm in 7th place in a league in the Ante & Co. where 8 teams make the playoffs. So I'm kind of on the fringe there, but should be able to get myself into a playoff spot. And look, chip in a chair. Anything can happen in the postseason. I have week 13 matchups against Conrad and AJ. Now, Conrad in the professionals is right behind me in the standings. Like I'm 9-3. I think he's 8-4. It's number 1 versus number 2 this week. We love to see it. AJ, I can't remember right off the top of my head how they're doing. I think they might be on the outside of the playoffs looking in, but it'll be an interesting matchup. And again, it's a matchup that I essentially have to win. And I'll take this opportunity, as I always do, to remind you that if you go to the description of this live stream, of the VOD, of the podcast episode, however you interact with this show, you're going to find all my results from last week, all my straight up against the spread and over under plays for week 13 in the NFL. You're going to find information on joining the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em pool for season 13 of this show. If you win a week, you get yourself shouted out on the show. You're going to be able to find information there as well about joining the NFL YouTube Prognosticators Facebook page, where we talk about football all week and all season long. A lot of great prognosticators like myself are giving you content, giving you picks on that page. And look, if you are looking for more of what I do, that's where you want to go. You want to go to the NFL YouTube Prognosticators Facebook page. All right, and without further ado, as I mentioned, a full 16-game slate in Week 13, including, obviously, the Thanksgiving Thursday triple header. Now, before we talk about those 3 games, I did just want to mention one quick thing to you, and what that is this. Over the last 5 years, of the NFL Thursday triple headers, 4 of the last 5 years, there's been a betting underdog upset on Thanksgiving Thursday. So that's far from a guarantee, but it is certainly enough to be a trend. 4 of the last 5 years, there's been an underdog who won a game on Thanksgiving outright. I say all that to say, I smell one. I think I smell one coming this week, but let's talk about it. So let's look at this Thursday triple header worth of games. We've got the Chicago Bears in Detroit taking on the Lions. We've got the Giants on the road in Dallas taking on the Cowboys. And we've got the Miami Dolphins in Green Bay taking on the Packers. Now, I do want to say off the top, and this is just to kind of the people that are watching live, I kind of see I'm disconnecting and connecting from the chat. I'm going to assume that I'm not disconnecting and connecting from the stream. Hopefully that is not the case, but I'm probably going to miss some stuff that's in the live chat because the chat keeps, again, dropping in and dropping out. So if that's the case, I apologize if I missed your chat message, but yeah, hopefully I don't. But let's get caught up with what has been in the chat here before we quickly get into these Thursday games. Broken Ankle was in there right away before the stream even started. Let's get ready for some turkey and football. Again, Canadian, we had our turkey before, but again, I've celebrated American Thanksgiving before when I lived down in the States for a year. It's a big deal, and it's awesome for the people that celebrate it. An incredible opportunity before Christmas to get to spend that time with your family. Lewis Chesney is in the chat and has been kind of blowing things up. Hey man, I'm from Pluto. So what you talking about? I won all. I'm going to assume that's like you went like perfect last week, like 13-0. That's, if you did, man, that's incredible. That's the great white whale. Like that's what we chase. We chase that every single week. So if that was the case, that's pretty incredible. And Andrew is in the chat again saying, hey man, sorry I could only stay for a second. I'm working. Maybe Megan 2.0 will help you in your pools. I hope that movie is good. I really do. I was lukewarm on the first one. I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. I love calling it Mithrigan, but yeah, I hope that movie is good. I think you really liked the first one, so I hope you really like the second one too. All right, let's get started. Thursday, Thanksgiving Thursday, triple header of games, and let's start there in Detroit, where the Lions are going to play host to the Chicago Bears. Obviously, battle of the NFC North. You don't need me to tell you that the Detroit Lions are pretty good at football. And I think everybody knows that this Lions team is in a position that obviously they're very unfamiliar with. I mean, like you just don't know. When you're a team that struggled for so long, it's you look at being in a position like the Lions are in right now, which is they have to be looking at the landscape here going, we might be the best team in the NFC. We're certainly one of maybe 2. And we may be one of 3 or 4 best teams in the entire league. And we might not be 2, 3, or 4. Like, this Lions team may be able to legitimately lay claim to being the best team in football. It's entirely possible. You got a home matchup here against a division opponent, but a division opponent that has struggled mightily this season, especially on the road. Like, Chicago's lost 5 straight games. They're 0-4 on the road, so they have not won a game away from Chicago all year long. This is an offense that is essentially anemic and has been for about a month. The defense can kind of hold them in games, but even the defense, I think the defense is finding that the offense isn't giving them enough to have a chance to succeed. That's just kind of the way things are going right now in Chicago. And you've got this freight train in Detroit that has won 9 straight games. Now, they are dealing with the fact that David Montgomery is likely not going to play this week, or if maybe not likely not going to play, but probably shouldn't. He injured his shoulder. It's an AC joint. I don't know if he sprained it or it's just an injury, but I'm going to lean on him not playing because, again, they're in position here where they can make a legitimate Super Bowl run. I don't see any reason why in week 13 they should be risking a huge part of their offense by playing him on a short week. So I'm going to assume no David Montgomery this week. But even so, Jahmyr Gibbs is more than capable of taking like a 3-down role in this offense and touching the ball 20 to 25 times. I have no reservations about that whatsoever. I don't see a path to the Chicago Bears winning this game. So, I mean, Detroit all day from a money line perspective. Against the spread, they're laying quite a bit. They're laying -9.5 against the spread are the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, in addition to being 4-1 at home, are also 4-1 against the spread at home. And the Bears, winless on the road, have also not covered against the spread on the road this season. So I'm going to be with 65% of the public here, and I'm going to lay that -9.5 on the Detroit Lions. Total in the game set at 47.5 points. I feel like this is an over. This should get into a low 50, and I think Detroit probably doubles them up. Give me a 34-17 final here for the Detroit Lions. Lions win. Lions cover the -9.5, and give me an over on the 47.5 point total. Next up, we are going to go to Dallas, where the Cowboys are going to play host to the New York Giants. The Giants making a quarterback change, I believe officially. I'm not sure whether they've announced it or not, but I believe they've officially said they're going to be going to Drew Lock. So Tommy Cutlets got 1 week, and it did not go well. The Giants lost their 6th consecutive game, and they're making another change, going back to Drew Lock. Now, Dallas, look, I don't know that there's been a worse home team this season than the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they're 0-5 at home. They have not covered against the spread at home. Obviously, injuries have been like a mitigating factor there, but I mean, yeah, they're coming off a win from last week, but this is an abysmally bad home football team. It's just a bad team. And one win last week in a chaotic division matchup where they were a heavy underdog, I don't think rights the ship and changes the narrative about the Dallas Cowboys this season. So while they are favored here by 3.5 points and are probably a better football team than the Giants, you're talking about bread and another kind of bread. Like, these are 2 bad football teams. There's no real way around that. If you asked me which one of these 2 teams I'd rather have on the defensive side, I'm going to tell you I'd rather have the New York Giants. Offensively, it's pretty close. I guess I'd rather have the Cowboys. But in what I think is at least projected to be a low-scoring game, the total here is only 37.5 points. I'm going to take the dog. I'm going to take the New York Giants here because, again, 2 bad football teams. You might as well take the points. like I don't trust Dallas enough to say they should be laying -3.5 on basically anybody in the league at this point. So I'm going to take the Giants and Drew Lock to win this football game outright. Gimme New York in Dallas to get that Thanksgiving Thursday upset. Giants beat the Cowboys. So obviously on the line, Dallas laying -3.5. I like the Giants to win. Give me that +3.5 on New York. Total in the game set at 37.5 points. This is a situational over to me. In this spot, Dallas at home and the Giants on the road. The two teams have combined to hit 6 of 9 overs. So I think we'll go ahead and take an over on the 37.5 point total. Let's go like a 23-21. Maybe the Giants walk them off, but 23-21. Giants win. Giants cover the +3.5 and give me an over on the 37.5 point total. And the final game on Thanksgiving Thursday is my Green Bay Packers playing host to the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins have now completely turned their season around since Tua Tagovailoa came back from his concussion situation. They're winners of 3 straight games. The Green Bay Packers are winners of 2 straight games. They're 4-2 at Lambeau Field. This is the marquee matchup, I think, of Thanksgiving Thursday. And it obviously it gets the late slot. I think this is the game of Thursday night. Look, this is a battle of two teams that my efficiency model absolutely loves now. Again, Miami's completely turned it around offensively. They're a top 5 most efficient offense. They're top 10 across the board on the defensive side, efficiency, total yards, and total scoring defense. So this is a good defensive team in Miami. Green Bay has played very well over the last 4 games, basically. On the defensive side, a little bit more efficient than Miami. The scoring defense about the same, but again, they're top 10 in both of those. The Packers are top 10 in the last 4 games in terms of total yards and scoring offense. Again, marquee matchup here between two teams that should probably make some noise in the postseason. So if the postseason started today, these two teams, if they got in, both of them would be making some noise in the postseason. I think I got to lean on the fact that, again, it's in Lambeau Field. It's going to be cold. I don't know. And look, it's overblown that the Dolphins can't play in cold weather, but it's also not like there's nothing to that, because we know that there's not nothing to that. We've seen that there's not nothing to that as a narrative. So I'm going to go with the Packers here. Despite the fact they're probably going to be without Romeo Doubs, he did suffer a concussion. It's a quick turnaround. They haven't ruled him out yet, but chances are he's probably not going to play. Even given that, I think if this game comes down to the run game, I think I'll take Josh Jacobs in this spot over Devon Achane. So I think I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Packers there to win the game straight up. Now, against the spread, Green Bay is laying -3. I like them to win. It's a relatively small price to pay. I'm on 64% of the public here, laying the -3 on the Packers. Total in this game set at 48, and here's where I'm kind of going against the grain a little bit. I'm going to take an under in this one. Again, 2 very good defenses lately. Again, the offenses have been very good as well, but cold weather, I think that you're talking about an emphasis on the run game, longer drives. I think that's going to drive the score down. I'm going to take a sneaky under on this 48 points and go 26-20 in favor of Green Bay. Packers win. Packers cover the -3 and give me an under on the 48-point total. And before we take a break and get caught up in chat, let's look at that Friday game too. Black Friday, the Las Vegas Raiders on the road in Kansas City taking on the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs got back on the happy side of things, winning their game last week. The Raiders have lost 7 games in a row. They're only 1-5 on the road, and Gardner Minshew is now done for the season. Minshew breaking his collarbone. He had surgery. He's done for the year. They're going to be going back to Aiden O'Connell, who is healthy enough to play yet again. So the quarterback carousel in Las Vegas continues. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, again, they lost their first game of the season. They get back on the schneid with a win, a very competitive win against a very game Carolina Panthers team. It'll be interesting to talk about them in a little bit. This Kansas City team, I think, has been very milquetoast over the last month. They're not really doing a ton to stand out, or a ton that makes them special, I suppose we should say. Defensively, they're actually bottom 10 in efficiency over the last month. They're not giving up a ton of yardage, but they're giving up more points than they should be allowing for the yardage that they're giving up. That said, even though I think it was this game last season, a game against the Raiders that they lost that kind of launched them on this big winning streak. I think that was like the last game that they lost before they went on this huge win streak dating back to last year. I don't see this Raiders team beating them. Let's put it that way. Let's be on Kansas City heavy here. Chiefs, who are 5-0 at home, get the win over the Raiders. How heavy are we on them? I am going to do this, and I'm doing this hard this time. Like, I am pinching my nose, holding my nose for all that it's worth. I'm going to lay those 13 points. It's disgusting. Like, it's terrible. I do not advocate anyone doing this. I really don't. But I'm going to lay the minus 13 because I do think the Raiders are that bad on the defensive side. Offensively, their efficiency is good, but it's because they generate almost nothing on the offensive side. And I have less than zero faith in Aiden O'Connell. I feel like we've seen enough to kind of know what the deal is here. So it's gross, but I'm going to lay the minus 13. Again, I do not advocate that you tail me on that play. Total in this game set at 42.5 points. And you know what? If Kansas City's going to cover minus 13, might as well take an over here, take as many points as we possibly can. I'm going to go like a 33-14, something like that. So Chiefs win heavy. Chiefs cover a gross minus 13 and give me the over on the 42.5 points. All right, let's very quickly get caught up in chat, which is not going to take very long because, again, I've been disconnecting and then reconnecting. Not intentionally, obviously. It's just something that's happening automatically. And that apparently made Louis Chesney unfortunately upset. He said, "Boo you, I'm hitting the dislike button, bye-bye." Okay, like, not much I can do about that, pal. So is what it is. And then I disconnected and reconnected yet again, but I do see a couple messages in here from Broken Ankle. I totally agree on the Thursday night picks. Just for fun, parlay, Lions minus 9.5, Giants money line, Packers money line. Interesting. BA, if you're still here, throw that into a parlay calculator for me. I'm actually kind of interested what the odds are on that. Also saying, I was reading that out of Kansas City's 10 wins, 8 of the games have been one-score games. Yeah, I mean, they're not a dominant football team. It's just at the end of games, they're on the right side of the scores. Like, that's, I think, what it is. And really, ultimately, in this league, that's all that matters. Winning is the end result really is what matters. But no, you're absolutely right. Like they have not been beating teams up. Like, the Lions have been beating teams up. The Chiefs have not been doing that. And Corey, 13 points on that Chiefs game. I know it's gross. It's gross. But again, I think that Raiders defense is that bad. All right, now we're going to do a block here of 5 fairly quick games before we kind of jump ahead and look at that Sunday night football game between the Niners and the Bills. We're going to fire through 5 ones here relatively quickly. He says as he pauses to take a drink. Okay. The Los Angeles Chargers on the road in Atlanta taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Falcons are coming into this game off the bye, so they will be definitely well rested. And there's a pretty significant rest discrepancy in this game because the Falcons didn't play last week. The Chargers are on a short week. They played on Monday night and kind of got beat up against the Baltimore Ravens. So they lost that game. Atlanta has lost 2 straight. The shine has kind of come off that team, especially on the defensive side. Their defense has kind of caved in over the last month or so. Whereas the offense has been struggling too. Like, they're not bottom 10 in efficiency, but they're very, very close. Like, Dallas is bottom 10 in offensive efficiency at 17.5. Atlanta's at 17.3. So they've barely kept themselves out of that conversation on the offensive side. And again, defensively, they're giving up a ton of yardage. They're giving up a ton of points. The Chargers are going to have to play this game without J.K. Dobbins. Now, Dobbins sprained his MCL. I believe that's going to be probably 2 to 3 weeks. So it's Gus the Bus time, baby. Gus Edwards is the next man up in the backfield there for the Chargers. He's capable of being a 3-down back, I think, still, especially on like a short term. I would kind of take a look at Kimani Vidal as being the guy that could step up and be the most valuable in that backfield while J.K. Dobbins is recouping from this injury. Despite the fact that there is that big rest advantage in this game, you got to go with the Chargers here. They're objectively the better football team, even on the short week. Let's take Los Angeles on the road in Atlanta to beat the Falcons. Now, on the line, Atlanta is taking +1 here as a very marginal home dog. I like the Chargers to win. -1 is a very small price to pay, so let's lay the single point. Total in the game here set at 47.5. And by the way, 64% of the public is also on that -1. And the Falcons have only covered 2 spreads at home. So, yeah, it all kind of plays part and parcel into it. Total in this game set at 47.5 points. These two teams have combined to only hit 8 overs all season long. So let's take an under on this 47.5 point total. I'm going to go like a 23-20 competitive football game. I just like the Chargers a little bit better in this spot. So 23-20, Chargers win, Chargers cover the -1, and give me the under on the 47.5 point total. Here's one of the more interesting games of the week to me. The Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in Cincinnati taking on the Bengals. Now, the Bengals are coming into this game off the bye. They are losers of 2 straight, but again, well rested for sure. Pittsburgh has the benefit of the long week, having played that Thursday night snow game back in week 12. This is back-to-back road games for the Steelers. They're 4-2 on the road, so they've had some success away from Pittsburgh this year. So I'm less concerned about the fact that it's, back-to-back road games, which historically has caused teams to struggle. Pittsburgh does not look as good in my efficiency model as it has earlier in the season. That defense is still very, very good. And the Bengals pass protection is still very, very bad. So as long as somebody is playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they should be able to win at the line of scrimmage. And if you win at the line of scrimmage, you win football games. I don't think there's any other spot on the field that's more critical to you winning as a team if you want to win the game. It's the line of scrimmage. Everything starts at the line of scrimmage. Cincinnati's only got 1 home win all season long. Their offense has looked really, really good lately. Their defense is basically unwinnable. Like, they're giving up 33 points a game over their last month. The efficiency is in the toilet. Like, yes, they can get into shootouts. I just don't think they can necessarily win those shootouts. And this could turn into a shootout with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's offense has shown glimpses of being able to hold their own in those kinds of games. And again, I just don't trust the Bengals defense to stop them. So why this is so interesting to me is that Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite. I get that they're like playing for their playoff lives. So that I get that. And I get that, nobody expected, or very few people expected Pittsburgh to lose last week. But like 3 points, a 3-point favorite makes no sense to me at all. So I like the Steelers here on the road, division matchup in Cincinnati. I think Pittsburgh beats Cincinnati. And obviously I'm going to be taking the +3. The Steelers are 4-2 against the spread on the road. Cincinnati's only covered 1 home spread all season long. Give me the +3. Total in this game is also 47.5 points. This is a situational over for me. Again, with Cincinnati's defense playing as badly as it is lately, these two teams in this situation, Cincinnati at home and Pittsburgh on the road, are 8-3 to the over. So that's pretty strong as far as I'm concerned. So give me an over on the 47.5 point total. We're going to go 28-23 in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This could be like kind of a backdoor thing for Cincinnati to make this game close towards the end. But 28-23, Steelers win, Steelers cover the +3, and give me an over on the 47.5 point total. Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals, losers last week, but on the tail end of back-to-back road games in Minnesota, taking on a Vikings team that is playing hot. 4 consecutive wins for Minnesota. They're 3-1 in their own building. And look, this is a very good Minnesota Vikings team. Has been a very good Vikings team for the majority of this season. And I'm going to take nothing away from them, especially on the defensive side, where they have been dominant over the last month worth of games. Minnesota, an 18.5 defensive efficiency is top 5. 278 yards against per game is top 5. 15 points against per game is in their last 4, is also top 5. They have been dominant across the board on the defensive side. The offense has been a question mark. They're generating a lot of yards, but they're only scoring like 21.5 points a game. That's actually below league average for the last 4 games. And their efficiency has not been there on the offensive side. Arizona, you can kind of say the same for them. They move the ball fairly well, haven't been scoring a ton. They're right around league average from an offensive efficiency perspective. Arizona's defense has also played very good football over the last month. Top 5 also across the board. So a matchup of 2 top 5 defenses, for as far as I'm concerned, from over the past month. It's basically Arizona, Detroit, and Minnesota. And their defenses have all been spectacular over the last month or so. So expecting points to come at a premium in this game, I might as well go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off right now. I'm taking the under on this 45-point total. 100%. They've only combined to hit 8 overs all season long. So we're definitely going under on the point total. The one thing that I think could dictate how this game plays out is the health of Sam Darnold. Late in their game last week, Darnold got rolled over on his ankle. It's a situation to monitor because right now I don't even think he has the questionable tag. But I don't think Brock Purdy had the questionable tag right away last week either, and Purdy wound up not playing last week. So I'm not saying that Darnold's not going to play. I'm just saying it's a situation to monitor, and they just signed Daniel Jones. So I'm not saying, but I'm saying, don't be shocked if something happens. That's what I'll say. I like the Arizona Cardinals in the upset here. Again, I am concerned that the Vikings are not producing on the offensive side the way they should be. And if you're playing a excellent defense where points are at a premium, yards are at a premium, you want to be as efficient as possible. And the Vikings are not that right now. They're scoring, but they're not scoring nearly enough. So I actually like the Cardinals in the upset. The upset is very alive in this game. Give me the Arizona Cardinals on the road in Minnesota to beat the Vikings. So Vikings are laying -3.5 against the spread. I'm more than happy to take that +3.5 on Arizona, especially where, again, you got to buy the extra half point on the Vikings. I feel like this could be a hedge situation either way, but I like Arizona to win the game outright. So give me the +3.5. And of course, the under on the points. Give me a 23-17 final here in favor of the Arizona Cardinals. Cards win, Cards cover, under on the points. Very quickly here, the Indianapolis Colts on the road in New England taking on the Patriots. Both of these teams are like hard fades as far as my model is concerned. The Colts have almost nothing going right for them right now. The Patriots have basically nothing going right for them right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Indianapolis does have 2 wins on the road this year, so at least there's that. They were losers last week. The Patriots are -2. So they've lost 2 straight. They've also only won 1 home game all season long. For Indianapolis, a bit of a concern. Josh Downs did injure not the AC joint, but the SC joint in his shoulder last week. It's probably a multi-week injury. So look for Adonai Mitchell to step up in the receiving core for the Colts, kind of in their 3 wide sets. Again, Low scoring football game. I don't think there's many fireworks here. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts because I do think they are marginally a better football team. So let's take the Colts on the road in New England to beat the Patriots. On the line, the Patriots are actually 2.5-point dogs here at home to the Indianapolis Colts. Worth mentioning, Colts are 4-2 against the spread on the road this season. Patriots have only covered at home one time in 5 games, I think it is. So I'm with 71% of the public here. I'm going to lay the -2.5 on Indianapolis. Total in the game set at 42.5 points. I don't think this game gets to 40, so give me an under on this one. Under 42.5 points. We're going to go 21-16 in favor of Indianapolis. Colts win, Colts cover, under on the points. And the last game we're going to look at before we get to that Sunday night game is the Seattle Seahawks on the road in New York taking on the Jets. And wouldn't you know it, the Jets dominate the news cycle even in weeks they're not playing. So, Jets are coming into the game off the bye. So, again, well rested. Losers of 2 straight games. Seattle, winners of 2 straight games. 3-1 on the road. And again, despite all that, my model still doesn't really know what to do with them. Their defense has been really good. Their offense has been putrid. Can I say putrid? They're scoring nothing. They're not moving the ball. Their efficiency is in the toilet, but their defense can hold them in games and win games for them. I feel like that's what we've seen for the last 2 weeks. We certainly haven't seen an offense that has been capable of, playing really solid football and putting points on the board and winning games. It's been on the defensive side that Seattle has grabbed these back-to-back wins. For the Jets, I don't know what direction this team is going in. They seem like they're shedding people. The Jets, between these two teams, the Jets are the harder fade. I feel like they're both at least marginal fades. The Jets are the harder fade for me because I don't know. I don't have any prospect in my mind of what the plan is. So this week, I got to take the better team, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. That's my 5th straight road team. But let's take Seattle. Let's see here. On the line, Jets are actually taking +2 as a home dog. Well, I mean, oh yeah, sorry. I was looking at something else and I don't know if I have ADHD or not, but I kind of had an ADHD moment there, so we're all good. Yeah, Jets are taking 2 points as a home dog. It's not enough for a hedge. I like Seattle to win. Let's lay the -2. I'm on 76% of the public with that one as well. 42.5-point total. I'm going to take an over here because it's not like the Jets defense has been blowing anybody away lately either. So that's such a beatable number at 42.5. Let's take the over there. 27-20 in favor of Seattle. Seahawks win. Seahawks cover. Over on the points. Let's see. Broken Ankle says +658 for that Thursday parlay that he mentioned earlier. Excellent. Vikings was a great landing spot for Daniel Jones. I agree. Too bad another New York quarterback will take his spot next season. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has to fulfill the prophecy. The Brett Favre prophecy is you go from Green Bay to the Jets and then to the Vikings. He has to fulfill the prophecy. So Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota is a lock for next season. And Martin is in the chat as well, says he likes the Seahawks also. Excellent. Hurrah, huzzah. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate seeing you here, my friend. All right, we'll skip ahead now to Sunday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills 5-0 at home and winners of 6 straight games. at home taking on a 49ers team reeling off of a loss last week to the Packers, tail end of back-to-back road games. We still don't really know whether Brock Purdy will be the quarterback this week or not. He's still dealing with that injury. Whether he's healthy enough to go, we're not sure. He is practicing in a limited capacity, but again, the Niners are notorious for underreporting injuries. Oh, let's see. I don't have a ton of faith in this Niners team right now. Their defense is very good. Like it's top 5 over the last month in terms of total defense. It is tough to move the ball on that team, but they're giving up 26 points a game. They just came off a game where they gave up 38. So I like their defense, but I feel like their defense is not at all opportunistic. Their efficiency is in the toilet. And if your defense is not on point, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen will eat you alive, especially a Bills team coming into this game off the bye, well rested, at home. They haven't lost at home yet. They're on a hot streak. The offense is rolling. The defense is playing really well. There's just no pathway that I can see here to taking the 49ers in this upset. So let's take the Buffalo Bills at home to get a convincing win over the Niners. And on the line, Buffalo is laying a full touchdown, Bills -7. Worth pointing out, the Niners have only covered one spread away from home all season long. And even though the Niners have to be desperate in a spot like this, because like their division is still wide open, but at the same time, if you lose a couple games here, you can find yourself far outside the playoff picture. Because if you don't win your division, nobody else from that division might be going to the playoffs because like they're all like 6-5, 5-6 in that area. So if you don't win that division, what are your playoff prospects look like? And the concept of this Niners team not going to the postseason is crazy, but we may be staring at that as a reality. I'm going to lay the -7 here on Buffalo. I don't see any reason not to. On 73% of the public on the -7 here. I'm going to go with them. -7 on Buffalo. Total in the game set at 44.5 points. I think this game gets to 50. Situationally, these two teams, Buffalo at home, the Niners on the road, have hit 8 of 10 overs so far this season. So give me a heavy over on the 44.5 points. And I'm going to have Buffalo basically double them up. We're going to go 33-17 here in favor of the Buffalo Bills. Bills win. Bills cover the -7 over on the point total. All right, we got 5 games here before we talk about Monday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns in Denver taking on the Broncos. Again, we got 5 games left to get there. Let's go through them here. We're going to start with the Tennessee Titans on the road in Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders losers of 3 straight games after that big hot streak to begin the season. They've really kind of come back down to earth offensively. They're still looking okay. That Commanders defense is back to being as bad as it was for big swaths of last season. This defense has problems and in a lot of instances do not look very good, and it's undoing the good that is happening on the offensive side of the ball. They are 4-2 at home, which at least does bode well for them. And they're taking on a Titans team that, while they were winners last week, have only won twice on the road this season. This is the tail end of back-to-back road games for Tennessee. It's not a great spot for them. Defensively, I think this team has a lot of problems, even though they don't give up a ton of yards, but they give up plenty of points for the yardage that they do. Their efficiency is bottom 5 in the NFL over the last month. And their offense, kind of like I talked about with Atlanta earlier, is milquetoast. Like they just don't, they're not an exciting offense in almost any respect. It's going to be tough for Washington because we don't really know who's going to be in their backfield. Both Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler getting injured last week. For B-Rob, it's an ankle. I would expect him to be out for a couple of weeks. Eckler suffering his second concussion of the season. I would say we lean out on him, and it might be a couple of weeks before we see Austin Eckler again. So, they've got a couple of other options there in the backfield, but none of them are as exciting as either of those two players. So that does kind of put a bit of a cap on the offense. But look, if Washington's not going to win this game, I mean, this is not a they're a complete lame duck if on a 3-game skid they can't go into their home building and beat a team that's on Tennessee's level. Like, I'm not saying anything bad against Tennessee when I say, like, they're not, or they shouldn't be on Washington's level, at least with the way Washington started this season. So I'm going to take the Commanders here. I'm going to bite. And man, if they lose this one, it might just be a fade Washington for the rest of the season kind of thing. Let's take the Commanders to win. Now on the line, Washington laying -6. Tennessee is only 2-4 against the spread on the road. Washington is 4-2 against the spread at home. 67% of the public are on Washington to cover this number. I am not going to. I'm literally making a decision right now, changing my mind. I am going to take the +6 and hedge my bets with the Tennessee Titans. This feels like a good hedge. It's 6 full points. Commanders are on a skid. 6 points makes sense to me. So let's take the +6 on Tennessee. Total in the game set at 44.5. I do think this goes over this point total. These two teams have combined to hit 14 overs this season. So let's take over the 44.5 point total. And we are going to go, let's go 27-24. Commanders win, but give me the +6 on Tennessee, over on the points. My body had like a vitriolic reaction to that. That's weird. The Houston Texans on the road in Jacksonville, taking on a Jags team that's coming into this game off their bye, but losers of 4 straight games. Have only won 1 game at home so far this season. This Jags team, they're not very good. Not a very good Jags team. Texans were losers last week, but my model actually kind of likes them. Their offensive efficiency has been very, very good over the last month. Like, they're not blowing the numbers. Like, the scoreboard doesn't look incredible, but from an efficiency perspective, it looks really good. So if you ever do have that game where you pop off for 400 yards, you're probably going to put 35 points on the board because, again, their offensive efficiency has been very good. And the Jags, just across the board, but especially on the defensive side, are an abysmal squad. Like, the defensive side needs a complete overhaul for Jacksonville. Like, rip it down to the struts, including the coaching staff, especially on the defensive side, and rebuild from scratch. Because what you're doing now is not working. And it's not working on either side, but especially on the defensive side. Like, that defense is completely untrustable as far as I'm concerned. So I'm pretty heavy on the Houston Texans here, even though they're on the road. Again, division game, anything can happen. But give me the Houston Texans on the road in Jacksonville to get the win over the Jags. On the line, Jacksonville is taking +4 here as a fairly solid home dog, but it's only 4 points. It's less than a touchdown. Houston is more than capable of covering this number. So let's lay the -4 on Houston. 70% of the public is doing the same thing. Total in the game set at 43.5 points. I do have to take an under here because Houston on the defensive side has been pretty good for much of this season. They've had moments where they've looked terrible, but for the most part, I think this defense has actually been fairly good. So I don't have any faith in this Jags team getting to a number that starts with a 2. So I'm just going to take a sneaky under here. We're going to go 24-16 in favor of the Texans. Texans win. Texans cover the -4 and give me an under on that 43.5 point total. Here's an interesting one. The Los Angeles Rams in New Orleans taking on the Saints. Now, the Rams were losers last week. The Saints have won back-to-back games, despite the fact like there's this impression that the Saints are not a good team, and or not that they're not a good, but that the Saints are a bad team. And that I can like unequivocally say is not true. Like the Saints team is not a bad team. They're not a great team, but I think they're a good team. They're definitely not a bad team. They've had moments this season where the offense has been like, wow, you move the ball really well and you cannot finish for the life of you. And that's kind of streak that they're in right now. Like their offensive efficiency is quite bad. Actually, it's worse than like Cleveland's, but they're top 5 in yardage. So they're moving the ball up and down the field at will. It's a matter of finishing drives, scoring touchdowns. That's kind of where they've struggled over the last month. But this Los Angeles Rams team is a team that every time I've had faith in them, they've immediately squandered that faith. And I'm not taking like this, it's not a personal thing. They're not doing it against me specifically. But I don't think the numbers support the fact that the Rams are a 2.5 point road favorite in this game. That line stinks to me. For a team in New Orleans that's won back-to-back games, playing at home off of their bye. It makes no sense to me at all. There's a couple lines this week that just utterly like stink like fish, and this is one of them for sure. I think the Saints are the better team here, and they're getting 2.5 points in their own building. I like the Saints to win this game outright. So give me New Orleans here at home to get the win again over a Rams team that offensively they're not super impressive. Defensively, they've got some problems for sure. I think the Saints are more than capable of winning this football game, especially on the defensive side. So give me New Orleans. Obviously, since I like them to win, I'm taking the +2.5 on the Saints against the spread. Total in this game set at 49. And this is a really interesting total because when it opened at 47. And I looked at it and I went, man, I think this is an over. Like, I think the chances of this game getting kind of in and around 50 points is pretty good. So I think, more often than not, this is going to go over. The number almost immediately ballooned by 2 points up to 49. I think it might even be 49.5 now. So with that wild of a line movement, I'm actually going to buy that dip and I'm going to go under. I'm going under purely on the line movement of, 2 points, more than 2 points. That just doesn't smell right to me for no specific purpose. So I'm going to take it under here. I feel like this is one of those games where we're going to get like half pointed or pointed either way. So I'm going to take it under here. I'm going to buy that big unexplained increase. So under the 49 point total, and I'm going to go right up to it. I'm going to go 27-21 in favor of the New Orleans Saints. Saints with the upset win. They cover +2.5 and give me an under on the 49 point total. So that's my 4 upsets there for the rule of 4. Now we look at the Tampa Bay Bucks on the road in Carolina, division matchup. Panthers losers last week, but were they really? Like, yeah, they lost on the scoreboard, but to be that competitive and play that close with the Kansas City Chiefs, is that a loss? Technically in the standings. For team morale, no, that is a massive win for a team on Carolina's level to show that even for one day, they can be competitive with a team like that. That's a massive win. That is massive momentum under the belts of the Carolina Panthers, even though they lost. And even though they're only 1-4 in their own building this year. They've struggled a lot at home. The Bucs were winners last week. They're on the tail end of back-to-back road games. They're not a bad road team, but they're not a great road team. They're kind of middle of the pack. And offensively, they do some good things. Defensively, they do some good things. They're kind of there. They're like a marginal take for me. Whereas, Carolina, I think, is probably still a bit of a fade. But man, when you look at the numbers for the Carolina Panthers, where they were like a month ago versus what they are now, do you know the Carolina Panthers are actually top 10 in defensive efficiency over the last 4 games? Their D efficiency is a 16.1. The Baltimore Ravens are a 16.2. That's how good the Panthers have been on the defensive side from an efficiency perspective over the last month. And that's not nothing, because we're coming from, bottom 5s across the board. So over the last month, this Panthers team, there's way worse teams in this league than how the Panthers have looked over the last month. Upset of the week, Carolina wins this game outright. Carolina has an opportunity in this game to play such massive spoilers and just blow the entire division wide open. In one game, they have got that opportunity. Look, they're not going to the playoffs. They're probably not going to be competitive for the first overall pick, nor should they be. I think they've got their guy in Bryce Young. I think it took a little longer, but I think he's starting to show it now. So you don't need the first overall pick. You need a good pick, but not the first overall pick. They have such an opportunity to play spoilers this week. I can't not bite. I can't not bite on the Carolina Panthers outright beating the Tampa Bay Bucs this week and just completely throwing that whole division on its head. Carolina at home beats the Tampa Bay Bucs. This is spitting in the face of the fact that the Bucs are 4-1 against the spread on the road. So 4-1 against the spread on the road in 5 games. That's pretty darn good. But I mean, they're also like laying 5.5 points on the road, division game. That number doesn't smell great to me. So obviously, since I like Carolina to win, give me the plus 5.5 on the Panthers. Total in the game set at 46.5. This is a layup. These two teams have hit 15 overs this season. So give me an over, a strong over on the 46.5 point total. I think this gets into a low to mid 50. 27-26. The Carolina Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Bucs, upset the Tampa Bay Bucs in Carolina. Let the insanity ensue. And now we come to the game that should, let's be honest, probably be on Monday Night Football instead of Denver and Cleveland. Nothing against either one of those teams. But when you get the Philadelphia Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens, they should probably be Sunday night or Monday night or the Black Friday game. Like, this feels like a game that should be in prime time. I mean, it obviously is like America's Game of the Week or whatever, but just again, feels like it should be in one of those bigger spots. In any case, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens. Eagles are on a 7-game win streak. They've been untouchable over basically the last 2 months. They're on the tail end of back-to-back road games, but they've won 5 of 6 games away from Philadelphia this season. Baltimore got back on the happy side of things last week, obviously with that Monday night win over the Chargers. So they do come into this game on the short week, which is worth noting. Baltimore has won 4 of their 5 games at home, a battle of 2 teams that obviously my efficiency model absolutely loves. Baltimore on the offensive side, they're just cruising. Defensively, they've been playing better lately than they have been earlier in the season. Philadelphia, they give up almost nothing in terms of yardage. They're top 5 in total yards and scoring defense, but as a result of that, their defensive efficiency is actually bottom 10, but it's because both of those numbers are so small that it's just the way that the numbers work out. Offensively, no question marks about this Eagles team whatsoever. Top 5 in yards, top 5 in scoring offense. I mean, they kind of do it all. Now, they will be dealing with a pair of injuries coming into this game, and they're not insignificant. One on the offensive side and one on the defensive side. On offense, Devonta Smith re-aggravating his hamstring injury but prior to last week's games. He didn't play last week, I don't think, but he's re-aggravated that. That's going to be at least, I think, a multi-week injury. I mean, they could shut him down until we get closer to the playoffs. Would anybody be shocked to see that? I certainly wouldn't. And Brandon Graham, unfortunately, tearing his tricep last week. That's the end of his season. Chances are, for a player at his age, he's been doing it for 15 years. Good chance we've probably seen him play his last NFL game, which sucks. If that's the case, big ups to Brandon Graham, because what an incredible career that he has had in Philadelphia. This is one of these games that I almost hate making a pick for this game. I just want to watch it. Like, I just want to get my bowl of popcorn and as a football fan, just sit and watch a game like this. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, like incredible matchup. I think I've got to lean on the Baltimore Ravens. I think the injuries do wind up playing a part. I think this is a high-scoring, highly entertaining football game. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. Let's take Baltimore to win the game outright. And against the spread, they're laying -3. Philadelphia is 5-1 against the spread on the road. A hedge here would probably be a good idea. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do. I think I'll go ahead and hedge my bets. Boy, I'm not taking many home teams against the spread this week, but I think I will go ahead and hedge. I'll take Baltimore to win the game outright, but give me the +3 on the Philadelphia Eagles. It insulates me against the upset. Total in the game set at 51 points, situationally being Baltimore at home, Philadelphia on the road. The two teams have hit 7 of 11 overs this season, so I guess we'll go ahead and take an over here. Let's go like a 30. Oh boy. Do we go 28-27? How about we do that? That'll be fun. 28-27 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens win, but give me the +3 on the Philadelphia Eagles, over on the 51-point total. All right, just a couple to catch up with here in the chat before we talk about Monday Night Football. Broken Ankle saying, if you look at the Commanders' wins, none of them are against impressive teams. Yeah, people have been definitely making that point over the last couple of weeks, that like their wins have all been kind of, don't want to say cupcakes, but not high-end football teams. I don't think that's inaccurate. I think that's probably pretty correct. Corey saying, I just hope Houston's offense can look competent this weekend. Yeah, me too. It feels like they should be on a certain level, and they just haven't really been that way, other than when Joe Mixon decides that he wants to be Joe Mixon and dominate games. Corey agreeing with me on the Carolina. I agree. I think Carolina can take the Bucs this week. Attaboy. And then also saying they're fun to watch. I'm glad to see Bryce having fun on the field. Absolutely. Like, they're starting to get what they thought they were getting by taking Bryce Young first overall. And yeah, look, that pick looked bad and has looked bad. Starting to look a little less bad now, which is nice. All right. Monday Night Football. The Cleveland Browns on the long week, coming off of that big win, division game against Pittsburgh. That game was in Cleveland, I believe it was. Big win. They're going to travel to Denver, take on a Broncos team that has won 2 straight. And boy, that Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton connection looks Super fun. Isn't that fun? Isn't that just what football was built on? You get a connection like that with a rookie and a grizzled vet, and man, oh man, they have been fun to watch over the last couple of weeks. Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton, man. Fantasy gold. So the Broncos are a team that I think is like a provisional take for me in both in this spot and in general. That defense is pretty good and has been for most of the season. The offense is starting to kind of come along. I kind of still expect more on the offensive side, but they're also trying to kind of figure out where they're going in the run game. So, you know, whether it's still Javonte Williams or whether it's Audric Estime or whether it's Jaleel McLaughlin or like who's the guy? Like they're just kind of rotating their running backs, which is, I mean, it's a legitimate strategy, which it is. They won back-to-back games, so clearly that is at least in part working. The Browns are still a team that, despite the win last week, look, anybody can win a game. That doesn't really change how bad the numbers do look. I mean, the defense is almost unwinnable. It's bottom 5 in yards allowed, bottom 10 in points allowed. Offensively, they're bottom 10 in points scored. This is all over the last month. Bottom 5 in offensive efficiency, even though they move the ball fairly well. 360 yards a game over their last 4. But they're not scoring the points to go along with that. Despite the fact that they're on the long week, I just don't necessarily see that the conditions will be the same this week as they were last, which helped them to win that game. They don't strike me as the team that's going to win back-to-back games. So I got to be on the Broncos here. I think they're the better team. They're at home. I like Denver. Let's take the Broncos at home to get the win over Cleveland on Monday night. And I think what I might do is make one more change here to an original pick I was going to make against the spread, because I was going to hedge my bets here and take the plus 5.5 on the Browns, because that just kind of felt like too much. But I actually think Denver covers this number. It's going to be a low scoring game. I think points are at a premium in this one. But I think Denver's defense is that good. I do think they actually cover this. So let's go ahead and lay the minus 5.5 on the Broncos. Total in the game set at 42. I kind of let the cat out of the bag there. I am going to take the under here on the 42-point total. And we're going to go, I think, 23-14. 23-14 in favor of the Denver Broncos. So Broncos win. Broncos cover the minus 5.5 and give me an under on the 42-point total. There you have it, folks. Those are my picks for week 13 in the NFL. Thanksgiving weekend, just all kinds of fun in the NFL this week. Once again, if you're one of my American viewers, listeners, friends, fans, whatever, I hope you have an incredible, incredible Thanksgiving weekend. Spend as much time as humanly possible as you can with your family, with your friends, with the people you love. It's what this time of year is all about. I wish you nothing but the best this weekend. Don't get hurt on Black Friday. Go get those deals, but don't get yourself hurt. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Thank you so much for checking out the show. We will see you again for week number 14 in the NFL. Once again, happy holidays, and we'll see you right here again next week. All right, folks, that is the end of the podcast portion of the show. I think we actually made fairly decent time there. It's an hour 15. It's a full slate. So I actually think we did pretty well there. So for the folks that were here for most of the show, what do you think? What do you like? What do you not like? What picks just made you absolutely roll your eyes? If Gorian was in the chat, he'd be telling me how risky I am and everything like that, which I guess is true. I chase those upsets. I'll wear that. That's a criticism of the way that I do this. I chase the upsets. I think I have good reason, but I do chase them. What's your favorite play this week? What do you really, really love? And what's your favorite Thanksgiving? Oh, Gorian is here. Oh man, Gorian, I love you. I love you, man. You know that. That's so funny. That's incredible. That's so good. What's your favorite Thanksgiving food? That was what I was gonna ask before. Before Gorian just popped up. What the hell did I miss? Okay, so Gorian, if you just came in, literally 10 seconds before you sent your message, I was like, what's your favorite pick? What do you hate that I made? And I said, what I said was, if Gorian was here, he'd be telling me how risky I am with my picks and whatever. And then literally 5 seconds later, I see you post Dallas Miami money line. Oh, you heard that part. Okay. No, I was just like, it's just so funny to me. But I'm just like, I start a little mini rant. It's like, oh, if he was here, and then you just boom, as if out of nowhere, just appear. Oh my goodness. That's really funny. Oh goodness. All right, what do we got? Broken Ankle says, I think the Raiders cover the 13. Yeah, that's fair. Like, laying that many points is probably a mistake on my part. I'm willing to, that's what I clicked. Yeah, that's I'm willing to take that. Love the Steelers upset. Yeah, that line makes no sense to me. I like, did somebody get hurt that I didn't know about? Like, I don't know. Let's see. Pumpkin pie. You know what? I'm not a pumpkin pie guy. I don't really love the taste of pumpkin. I can tolerate like pumpkin spice stuff, but I don't love the taste of pumpkin. So, but look, for the people that love it, love it. If like my pie of choice for Thanksgiving is always going to be coconut cream. Always going to be coconut cream. I'm a coconut cream boy. Okay, it's time for me to go to bed. If that line's coming out of my mouth, I'm a coconut cream boy. You guys watch this show. It's incredible. The fact that I have people that watch this show every week is a miracle. Just an absolute miracle. Oh man. That should be a t-shirt. Just Bridgewater's finest, and then I'm a coconut cream boy. If I made that as a shirt, would people buy it? I think they would. That's incredible. No, Dallas and Green Bay is the bet on the ticket. Okay, that's good. All right. Second time today I wrote Miami. The bet's Miami to lose. There you go. I got Corey laughing. That's what matters. Okay, so before I say anything else delirious and crazy or wonderful marketing schemes, I think it's time to cut the show there. This will be a little under an hour and 20 minutes. One of the longer streams I've done all season, but again, it's Thanksgiving week. That'd be the shirt of a winner. See, there you go. Attaboy, Corey. Awesome. You rock. All right. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving, folks. Be safe. Get those Black Friday deals. You know we love them. Spend the time with the people that you love, the people that you do all this for. Have a great weekend. We will see you again next week. Same time, back on the regular schedule. If I got to change something, I'll let you know. But I expect from here on out, we'll probably be on the regular schedule. And yeah, we will see you next week for week number 14. Basically, next week is the last week of buys, correct? I think week 14 is there's 6 buys next week. So that's the end. And then from here on, it's the fantasy football playoffs, and away we go. Boy, we're going to be at the end of this season before you know it. All right. Thank you so much for stopping in, watching the show, watching me go stupid here in the end part. I appreciate you all very, very much. And we will definitely see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.